Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Total War Attila, the Eastern Roman Empire, and history. And last episode, we crushed the Visigoths and their king Alaric and his heir, Arnulf? I don't know much about him, honestly, but our emperor, Flavius Arcadius Augustus, gained rank. Let's take a look at him.
What does Rome require of me?
Rome requires you to level up. Let me just make sure he didn't get any harsh. Ooh, that lowers public order. That kind of sucks. All provinces. I guess he got that from the fact that I killed a lot of barbarians? I don't know. But we'll give him an artist, and that'll make up for it, because that gives 5 public order to whatever province he's in. There's his wife, by the way. She was supposed to be very pretty and beguiling, but she probably wasn't faithful to him, or at least that's what's said. We can't really know for sure. Alright, so he has a problem with public order. So we can fix that by giving him due, a man above men, born to command. Well, yes, he's an emperor, but that'll help us out. What I normally like to do is max out these two, max out this and this, which gives the troops excellent melee defense, and this gives them morale. And this gives a higher recruitment capacity. And then from there, I don't know. From there, we'll see where I go. Obviously, you want to eventually get to Vanguard, which improves your melee attack and your movement range. And then Vir Illustris. But I don't see much use for Cavalry Commander and Fleet Commander, because I don't have any cavalry or fleets. But there you have it. I will eventually, though. So down the line, that'll be useful. His authority is pretty crap. You'd think that'd be higher from winning that battle. His cunning, however, is pretty good. That's just because I just gave it to him. So we're going to have to work on him. We're going to have to keep him doing well. Yep, he gained an artist. We gave it to him. Great. There's a population surplus in Asia. So let's put that to good use here. We just built the waterworks. Chapel. Okay, so there's no unit recruitment buildings, and what we need is some cavalry. Oh, it's only in Cyzicus. Well, that doesn't help us much. Let's see what our choices are. Okay, Rally Field. Let's just take a quick look at you. So this can be developed into a place to recruit cavalry. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. And we have wheat here. What are the sanitation is good here, so I don't need to spend any more money on that for just now. Let's look at some other provinces. Particularly, let's look at Cappadocia, because that generally, yeah, sanitation's poor there. Waterworks will take care of that. And Thracia is just crappy. There's not much we can do about that. Marcianopolis and Tremontium are going to be constantly attacked throughout the campaign. It's almost wasteful to spend money on them, to be honest. Although we should probably repair it just to keep people happy. It's cheap. What about Egypt? You know, we could start making some sheep in Egypt. Then we can upgrade the church to improve the public order. Okay, that's great. Let's look at our guys. You are just going to hop around.
March. We cannot follow this order.
Yes, you can. Okay, you.
Battle.
Yeah, you're just recruiting troops. And
Are you ready?
yeah,
to
I
serve
won.
Rome?
It's good, great.
At your command.
You. What am I doing with you? You're the. Or you were the one who's recruiting troops. One of you guys is good at recruiting troops, and one of you guys is good at recruiting agents. But you, I'm just going to move you. Actually, I want to keep you in this province. So let's go up to Marcianopolis. Might as well upgrade these guys. Okay. And then you. You're just my eastern guy. Alright. So that leaves us with Arcadius, and we have some Goths to finish off. Apparently we didn't manage to take them out completely, but that's okay. While we do that, I'll talk to you a little bit more about Alaric and what he did after Theodosius died, and he quit the Roman army and went back to his people right about now, right about, well, 395. We're now in 396. You might say, Marcus, why aren't you auto-resolving the battle? And believe me, I love auto-resolving battles when I'm going to win by a lot. I love it. But the game loves to give your general afflictions, like maimed or something like that, even if you completely dwarf the enemy army. So maybe in the future, when I don't have something historical to talk about, I'll just fight these battles out and cut that from the video. But I'm definitely not going to auto-resolve, especially not with my Emperor, because he will, again, there could be 10 guys against 1,000, and he will walk away with an injury. Apparently, the auto-resolve means the Emperor and his personal troops just run and attack the army by themselves.
At your command.
So Alaric, in 395, after he went back to his people, he was elected king. And because of his ill treatment, or his perceived ill treatment at the hands of Theodosius and not being given a better position, and also the fact that he lost half of his men in the battle, remember 10,000 of them. Also, the Huns were kind of raiding the lands that were gifted to his people south of the Danube. So all these reasons combined, just the general crappy treatment of the Visigoths, caused him to lead all of his people and march toward Constantinople. However, they were not expert besiegers, and so they did not stay there long, and they ended up heading south toward Greece, toward Thessaly. And let's just get this formation. There we go. And we'll just engage these guys wherever they are. So he basically ravaged Greece for a couple of years. He was accepted with open arms into Athens, so he mostly spared that city, but he destroyed Sparta, Corinth, Argos, and sold much of the population of those cities into slavery. Now, twice... Yes, they should. Now, twice during this period, Stilicho came and landed in Greece with an army from the west to take the Visigoths out, and he could have done it. But both times, because of the duplicitousness of Arcadius's advisors, they made Arcadius order Stilicho to retreat. And now, Stilicho was a good guy. He fought under Theodosius, he respected Theodosius's memory, and so even though he knew that Arcadius was being manipulated, and even though he didn't like it, he obeyed, because he, in honor of the family, the empire and the family. So what he did do, however, is he sent one of his men, because they had asked for the armies of the east that were fighting under Stilicho to go back. He sent one of his men to lead them, and when they received them at Constantinople, when the army arrived, these men went and they killed Rufinus. They hacked him apart. So Rufinus was now out of the picture, and Stilicho kind of got his revenge against his nemesis. Where are you people? Oh, there they are. Okay. So, but either way, Alaric is in Greece. Come on, guys. Alaric is in Greece, ravaging the place, and Stilicho, the only person who could beat him, is no longer there. So what do? Well, they give Alaric what he wants. They say, okay, we're going to name you Magister Militum for Illyricum. So he goes up to Epirus, and for a number of years, he just kind of hangs out up there. But there's a problem with this, because even though they've calmed him down, and even though he is no longer a threat necessarily to the east, he does have access to the armory, so the weapons and armor of the Romans. So no longer are his people just some crazy barbarians. They now have really, really good stuff. So that was kind of a problem. But for one reason or another, he decides to march west into Italy. There's a number of potential reasons for this. Cavalry on the sides, please. Some people say he was motivated to do so by the government of the East. And Wikipedia says, and again, none of my sources mention anything at all about this, so please take Wikipedia with a grain of salt, but Wikipedia says that he was kind of a Romanophile, that he actually wanted his men to call him Alaricus, which is like a Romanized version of his name, and that he wanted basically to be a military commander closer to Rome. So either way, so he marches on Rome with all of his people. And yes. No. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, cool. So let's move up a little bit and engage. So he does this, and obviously they're not going to give him what he wants. And so Stilicho marches out with his army of the West and defeats him. He defeats Alaric, and he does so because he attacks on Easter, which, even though Alaric has some pagan sensibilities, he's nominally a Christian, an Arian Christian, so he expected that Easter would be a sacrosanct day and wouldn't be attacked. So they were able to beat him back because of that. So, okay, everyone stop.
Stop now.
And this isn't worth losing archers over. So, at speed, yes. Thank you very much. Okay, so he was beaten. So he moved back to, Illyricum, Pannonia, and he was fine for a while. But then, when I say a while, by the way, I mean for like years. But then the tensions between the East and the West got so high that Stilicho was thinking of employing Alaric and his Goths to attack Illyricum in the name of Emperor Honorius, because they wanted Illyricum for themselves and they didn't want the East to have it. So, we can just watch this. So, he mobilized his men and started marching east, but then Arcadius died. He died in 408, and so Alaric was told to back off. They were like, you know what, don't worry about this, we're not going to be doing it after all. And Alaric was pissed, and he said, look, you're going to have to pay me a lot of gold, basically to cover the costs he incurred in getting his people and his army ready to go and moved. And Stilicho was like, yeah, we definitely need to pay this guy off. The Roman Senate, however, were like, are you kidding? That's debasement of us. That's completely off the table. And in fact, Stilicho even gets assassinated at this point. Stilicho was great. I mean, he's basically the only guy that... Why do these guys have weird yellow helmet crests? Did you see that? Yeah, what's up with that? It's one of the goofiest things I've ever seen. Look at that one barbarian guy just there in the middle. So Stilicho was holding the empire together, basically. He was the only general capable of doing so, and they assassinated him because, of course, he was German, or even half German, I think, and the Romans were a bunch of jerks, and they just didn't like him. So all of a sudden, Alaric's pissed. So he comes back and sieges Rome a second time. Now, of course, the emperor is not in Rome. The emperor is now in Ravenna. They actually moved from Milan because it wasn't as secure. So the emperor and his personal guard are in Ravenna, here, right? So they went from Milan to Ravenna, because Ravenna was like the Venice of its time. It had a bunch of swamps and stuff outside. It was very, very well defended. So Alaric marches again on Rome, and the Senate finally capitulates after he sieges it, and they say, okay, we'll let you name a puppet emperor. So he names another emperor, but the real power still resides with Honorius in Ravenna. So he just gets sick of this after a while. So he ends up killing or executing the fake emperor, a gentleman by the name of... You know what? I don't even know his name. It's not that important. And so he comes back and he sieges Rome a third time. And this time there is nothing stopping him. So they actually get into the city. It's kind of weird how he did it. It wasn't like a long siege or anything. Either the doors were unlocked from the inside, there was some treachery or something. And so it was real easy. And he ended up sacking the city for 3 days, him and his Gothic troops. And obviously, if you're a member of the Roman world, this was kind of a horrific event. However, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that horrific, because he looted the place, certainly. He looted the heck out of it, but they didn't really... I mean, there's... Writers of the period, there's passages where they were amazed at the level of clemency that he showed to the people. Like, he didn't go around burning the city to the ground. He didn't terrorize the people. His men were generally well-behaved. So, yeah, so he sacked Rome. So then, he decides that in order to get what he really wants, he wants to go and conquer Africa, because that was the kind of the breadbasket of Rome. That's where they got all their grain. So he goes to do that, and on the way there, it's just a disaster. The ships are hit by a storm, a lot of his men die, and so he eventually dies in southern Italy. They think of a fever. And so the last interesting tale about Alaric is that they say, this is the claim, that they diverted a river and that they buried him in the riverbed. And then, hold on, let me just...
Our general is being attacked.
Oh,
Keep
get out of
it
here,
alive.
archers. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Flee.
Command. By your command.
Okay, good. Looks like they're going to be okay. So he was buried in the riverbed, which was diverted. And then, once he was finally buried, the river was put back where it should have been. And then the people who did it, whoever dug the grave and diverted the river, they were all put to death. So that nobody knows where Alaric is buried. And that is the story of Alaric. Now, what's interesting, the more and more that I read about this period and study about this period is, of course, as you all know, I'm an unabashed supporter of the Eastern Roman Empire. One of my favorite empires in history, my favorite empire in history, not just one of.
Moments away from victory.
They're the reason why I'm doing this campaign and why I'm doing all this reading up. But the more I read about this period, the people that I think are the coolest, the people I think are the most interesting, aren't Romans. I mean, first of all, there's Stilicho, who was just an amazing guy, and he put up with a lot of crap. He maintained his loyalty, and for what? So the Roman people looked down upon him. And then Alaric, who, well, you could bet had a pretty tough life, and he achieved like kind of so much. And remember now, when he's marching all these places and ravaging all this land, he is not just running around like what we're seeing right here with an army. He's got women and children and basically his whole people following around with him. So he is like their only salvation. Now granted, he seems a little bit arrogant. He demands that he gets high military posts from the Roman government, but you know what? He was in a position to do so because he completely had both governments at one point or another at his mercy. So he was a really interesting character and just a really interesting story of this period, far more than Arcadius, who basically just sat in Constantinople and was told what to do by a bunch of people. But in our game that we are playing right now, we have killed Alaric in the year 396 and destroyed all of his troops and all of his people. So in this reality, Arcadius is a master general. We could call him Arcadius Gothtonos, which means Goth Slayer, because they're gone. The Visigoths, as a faction, have just been destroyed. So all of the people of Greece and of Rome are saved because of us, because of you and me, and the fact that we are managing the empire a lot better than the actual people who were supposed to do it during that time. We're big damn Roman heroes, guys. And Arcadius gained another rank. And he also gained a Pancration gloves. +3 experience for infantry recruits. That's not really good for him. We should give that to another person. Oh, but now he likes barbarians. So he went from hates smelly barbarians, which gave him a +10 morale bonus, to likes barbarians, which now gives him a -5 morale bonus against, or negative, not a bonus, a malus against barbarians, and he did so by murdering thousands of barbarians. That does not make a lot of sense to me. But he did gain the trait Confident Attacker, which means he now has +5 morale when he attacks. And his aura, when he's attacking on land, that's the area around him that increases the morale of people inside it, is now 15% larger. So I guess you win some and you lose some. Let's give him some more authority and more integrity to his army. That's good. And okay, so this is for recruits, if he's governing a province. So really all he's going to get from this is +3 melee defense to infantry. This will give him +3 melee defense as well. So in terms of a general who is not a governor, these two things are pretty much the same. So I want to get this one instead so I can start going down this tree. Okay, so that's a shame. I don't know why on earth they decided to give him the trait Likes Barbarians when he just butchered a whole ton of them. That doesn't make any sense. That did not happen in my test campaign. But our army has also gained tradition, which is great because if you can see here, the integrity of your army is how reliable they are. And they can rebel, for example, if their integrity is too low. But these guys are doing really well. Generally because of battles won. I want to give them a cool standard. Because this is the Emperor's personal army. Ooh, I like that. It's like a wreath. Like the wreath that Caesar wore around his head. Alright, so what should we give him? Limitane, which gives them +2 integrity when they are in their own or allied territory. For the Eastern Romans, that's pretty good in the beginning, because most times they're fighting in their own territory defensively. Or Logistics, which gives more ammunition and more replenishment. This will eventually lead to public order in the province, which is a good thing. And this will lead to morale when fighting barbarians, which is also a good thing. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to give him both. So, because the integrity he doesn't really need. The integrity is pretty high the way it is. And so next time they gain a tradition, I might put another one in one of these or move down. Who knows? But right now, we'll split the difference. All right, excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will end the turn, but I'll do that in the next episode. So I hope you enjoyed learning about Alaric. I do think he is one of the most fascinating characters of this period, in a period where the Romans are kind of blah. So, once again, I am Marcus Aurelius. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.